I'm too nostalgic, I'll admit it.
We graduated 4 months ago. What can you possibly be nostalgic for?
I'm nostalgic for conversations I had yesterday. I've begun reminiscing events before they even occur. I'm reminiscing this right now. I can't go to the bar because I've already looked back in it in my memory, and I didn't have a good time.
Welcome back to the Thinking Critical Comic Book Podcast. It's your host, Wes. I've got the boys back together again. We're going to do another comic book retrospective. And this week, we're going to talk about one of the wildest comic stories I personally have ever read. I haven't seen so many heel turns since the last time I was watching the lead up to a WrestleMania. I thought maybe Vince McMahon himself wrote this comic. It was crazy. Obviously, here to talk with me about this is comic book writer, award-winning editor Joe Corallo. We're going to be talking about Wonder Woman. Kind of crazy, Joe.
It is crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. And next up, we do have the voice of the voiceless, the man so cool they call him the Breen, Eric Breen, lifelong fan. How you doing, Eric?
I'm good. Ready to talk some Wonder Woman.
That's crazy. That's the thing about this, Joe. It doesn't even feel or read like a Wonder Woman comic. She essentially has no powers the entire time and is becoming like a martial artist. It reads more like a James Bond comic.
Yeah, and the fashion and all that's really great. Mike Sekowsky, who when we talked Justice League, a few weeks or so back, that was all Mike Sekowsky art, and he's more involved in this. He's co-plotting with Denny for a bunch of issues, and then he takes the reins and does the rest himself. And yeah, it's she's got all sorts of outfits. I mean, there's like outfit
She's
changes.
fierce. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
So Eric, reading this comic book, obviously you didn't read it as it happened. This came out in December 1968. The story essentially ends in June 1970. I believe it must be coming out, bi-monthly or twice, every other month. How do people remember this spot in Wonder Woman's history where essentially she has no powers and she's becoming like a secret agent?
Well, I think this iteration of Wonder Woman has become fashionable to dump on it because like I said, she was depowered. She was, like I said, more of a martial artist. So obviously, this was influenced by the success of the Avengers television show. Mm-hmm. Wonder Woman, Diana Prince was reimagined.
When you say Avengers, you don't mean like Iron Man and Cap. You mean like British Avengers, right?
Right. Steed and Emma Peel. She was reimagined as a version of Emma Peel. It is like you say, if you took a James Bond movie, a season of the Avengers TV series, put them together, put your own spin on it, you have this version of Wonder Woman. Now, where this run may have some things that didn't age well, the basic plots and the one we're going to cover today definitely holds up because it's very action oriented and very plot driven. I mean, it's got everything you want. It's bad guys, plot twists, heel turns, female assassins. It's got everything you'd want in an action comic, and that's what this book was. Yeah. So as far as how it's I remember it fondly. I think it was. This is one of my favorite runs of the character.
Yeah.
Think about the character, Joe. Why did this change need to happen? Did the character get stale? Why were they revamping the character like this?
Yeah, I mean the character had been stale for a little bit at this point, and she was never one of the highest selling characters for them. What's really interesting is back when she first came out, William, was it something Marston? I'm blanking on the middle part, but yeah, but when Marston had this character come out, the idea was to get women reading superhero comics, and then it turned out more men were reading Wonder Woman than other superhero there were other superhero comics that were popular at the time that women were reading in larger numbers than Wonder Woman. It was actually driving a higher male fan base at the time. And then, yeah, over the years, I mean, you can look through, it always got muddied with there's some of the mythological elements and things like that in it, but I think for a lot of people, Thor kind of cornered that market, and yeah, with Wonder Woman, it wasn't clicking, so they needed to do something, and I believe Denny had a lot to do with this. He was writing it, but I think he was like the golden child at the time. He was really starting to come up in the industry and had a lot of heat behind him. So he was always fascinated in Eastern philosophy and things like that. So he wanted to incorporate that into Wonder Woman. That's kind of where he got that, and to take a more what he considered his interpretation of a feminist approach to the character, by allowing her to be more like a human being instead of this like Amazon, to kind of try to do something new with the character, take it in a bold direction, but also maybe to make her more relatable.
Now, another thing, when this change happened, Wonder Woman had kind of fallen into the Lois Lane trap, where her whole purpose was to get married. I mean, there's the issue before, I think 176. I think he started in 177 or 178.
Yeah.
The cover is Supergirl and Wonder Woman about to tear into each other, and there's this man in between them going, "Fight to the death for the honor of marrying Claymore."
Yeah.
And that was what Wonder Woman had become. So this change, I would guess, was welcome when it happened.
Yeah, and there was one issue. It wasn't by Mike Sekowsky or Denny. It wasn't in the main Wonder Woman book, but as it kept going, there was the Lois Lane issue in here where Lois is jealous that, Wonder Woman's going to try to pretend she has powers again, so Superman will marry her, like that kind of stuff. But but no, it's so gorgeous too. Like I don't keep going back to it, but like Mike Sekowsky, I think gets a raw deal because he's very influential in the success of those early Justice League comics. And then I feel like because of the rep that this run ended up getting, that it prevented him from kind of really getting his due, because this was really the largest thing he had done. I think it's the largest thing he did since Justice League, and the fact that he also wrote it as well. This is really kind of his baby after a while for a big chunk of it. And it's a real shame because he's really a brilliant artist.
There's a lot of action, as you guys have mentioned in here. We got so many moving parts. We're going to have fun. We're going to cover 6 issues, Wonder Woman 179 through Wonder Woman 180, is it 182, and then Wonder Woman 187 and 188. So we got a lot of ground to cover. Wonder Woman 179 is where we'll jump in. This is titled Wonder Woman's Last Battle. Writer Denny O'Neil, artist Mike Sekowsky, and you said Mike Sekowsky was also co-plotting at this time. And first thing we get here, Breen, Steve Trevor has been ordered to pose as a traitor by General Darnell to infiltrate the mysterious Dr. Cyber's criminal organization. He's pursued by Army and the other authorities, and only General Darnell knows the truth. Great setup for a nice action, political thriller espionage book.
Yeah, and you notice when at the beginning they clearly don't know anything about Dr. Cyber or his, at the time, organization. So they set this up, and that Steve, definitely proved he could handle himself, because he was able to get away from a bunch of gun-toting MPs, and he hit Darnell just soft enough to where he was able to light his pipe afterwards.
and to talk about how Mike is a brilliant artist, page 4 here, that splash page there, he's using Steve Trevor. If you follow the line work there from the boot to the hand, that's the panel break. He created a 2-panel splash page by breaking it up between the soldiers on the one side yelling at him, trying to get him, and then you cut to the second like panel that he ended up creating by the image of Steve jumping through to show them, you know, pursuing him and shooting after him. That's brilliant.
It was really good stuff. And of course, we do get Diana Prince. She learns about Trevor's betrayal. She does not believe that it could be so there must be a misunderstanding. She wants to help him out, but Queen Hippolyta calls her back, and she returns to Paradise Island and learns that the Amazon magic is exhausted after 10,000 years on Earth. The Amazons must retreat to another dimension to renew their powers. Diana refuses because Trevor needs her help, and she's forced to give up the Wonder Woman uniform. Her powers are removed, and she enters man's world as merely Diana Prince, no longer Wonder Woman, Joe Corallo. So in very short order, the powers have been removed, and she's a different hero.
Yeah, and in that time, she is drawn with like 4 outfits in the span of like 4 pages.
As
we see her. Yeah, we see her. We got that original Wonder Woman outfit, the like the white gown, the coat, and then like the nice like when she takes the coat off and it's that like, you know, purple skirt with the nice boots. Like it's a lot for
what? This is a Hellfire Gala issue? What the hell's going on here?
You know, and I'll just say here, she's not wearing sleeves in a bunch of these, and it's handled very well.
The art looks fantastic. This is truly a changing of the guard, Eric. It's a new Wonder Woman. She's no longer Wonder Woman. She's just Diana Prince.
Yeah, but her instincts are still there because she looks out the window and sees that man, thinking a man's about to be accosted. She goes down to aid him and finds out he doesn't need any help at all. And that's where she meets her new mentor, I Ching.
Yep, because she returns to Earth. She rents an apartment. She discovers he's about to be attacked, and he's a blind man, but he handles himself quite well. And he tells her that he knows that she used to be Wonder Woman, and he's here to help her defeat Dr. Cyber. Dr. Cyber, it turns out, has attacked I Ching's temple. They killed fellow worshippers, and I believe he also knows that Steve has fallen in with that gang. So he starts training Diana in karate in one of the great montages I've ever seen in a comic book. And Steve stumbles into the dojo, and he's been shot and left or dead by Dr. Cyber. And he tells him that Dr. Cyber plans an assassination by planting bombs and toys, sending them to lawmakers. This is all great stuff, Eric Breen. This is diabolical stuff for Dr. Cyber.
It is. And yeah, so we, another outfit change, another battle, and a huge Frankenstein doll, which I believe had been
its head off.
Which I believe had been borrowed from the Bob Hope comic. This is great, and then you have the little toy planes and just everything. I said this we're in for a heck of a ride, and I said seeing Diana and I Ching kung fuing toy planes before they can explode. I mean, what more could you ask for?
It feels like a Joker plot, Joe.
Yeah, and what was it? So we get her in the gi, and then we get her in the green. So that's like about 6 costumes or outfits in just this one issue. But yeah, and just all the panel work. There are very few just square panels on a lot of these pages when we're getting into the action. There's a lot of diagonal. There's a lot of like really playing with the space, people going in and out of the panels. Like, it's the kind of stuff that was starting to happen around now, but you still didn't see it quite as much. So it is really interesting seeing all of these just panels that are all sorts of shapes throughout the whole issue here.
And I must say this, the color scheme matches my grandpa's cups to this day. He bought an entire set of cups from the 1960s. He still has them, and they're all the same shades of purple and blue and green and yellow that you're going to find in this comic book. It's absolutely from the era.
Oh, yeah. No, it's just brilliant stuff. And then and she's got that nice necklace at the end.
And we get a cliffhanger.
There's a man stalking him. They got to find out who it is. That gets us into Wonder Woman 180. Thank you very much for the transition, Eric Breen. It's called A Death for Diana. This is also Denny O'Neil, Mike Sekowsky. Diana and I Ching discover this stalker is actually a detective named Tim Trench. They're being attacked by cyber sweeties. I love that name. A bunch of gun-toting female assassins. That just feels like James Bond. And they survive and escape the attackers. So they're in imminent danger right away, Breed, as soon as Tim Trench makes his acquaintance known.
Oh yeah, I said he's I love where he goes, you're gonna be sorry when you realize what a nice guy I am. And she goes, well, nice guys don't shoot. I goes, I wasn't shooting at you, dummy. I was shooting at the cyber sweeties. And then as they're doing that, he somehow manages to fall on top of her in a very provocative pose there as he's blasting away with Lulu. And I Ching's been shot and she's worried, but then it's merely a flesh wound. And they take him back to her apartment, and somehow Dr. Cyber has a monitor where they are.
At this point, we've got Tim Trench starts telling them that Cyber has murdered his partner, Archie Miles. So Cyber's list of crimes they're just piling up. We've got Steve. We haven't got that one yet. We've got the temple. We got Tim Trench's partner, and he's joining the group against Cyber. The group being Diana and I Ching. Later,
did either of you two catch the Maltese Falcon reference?
Oh, where was that?
Well, he said Archie Miles, his partner, Spade's partner in Maltese Falcon, who was killed, Miles Archer.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
That's great.
And then later, Diana is lured into a trap by cyber agents, and she reveals that the agent who stopped reveals Steve has been kidnapped from the hospital, and Diana escapes and finds I Ching and Tim. So we've got things afoot here, Joe.
Yeah, there's again going back to the James Bond element here. We've got the underwater base.
Yes,
it's just it. Oh my god! But yeah, so much of this, all the action, like that big splash, 3/4 or 2/3 splash on page 3 there, where the cyber sweeties break through the glass there. Oh my god, I love all this so much, and just the way he does those montages. That page 8 where it's just that splash of everything going on. It's just such mastery of storytelling. Page 9 too, that's really intricate panel work you don't normally see, in a DC comic at this time.
Yeah, but it's time we're moving up to this big reveal, Eric. Everyone who wants to know who Dr. Cyber is. They receive word from an informant that Cyber's forces are in a castle hideout. They arrive. They discover Steve Trevor. And I did not see this coming. I should have, just by the name. But as he's warning them that they've entered a trap, they shoot him in the back. He dies right there, and they battle Cyber's forces. And Tim Trench is taken as they escape. And I Ching captures a cyber agent, and he decides he's going to hypnotize him to learn Tim's location. And then we see Tim is taken before Dr. Cyber at the end, Eric Breen.
Yeah.
And it's Dr. Cyber's a woman.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Now, before we get to that, Steve is seemingly killed and then seemingly forgotten.
Absolutely. They never mention him again. No one mourns. They just keep fighting.
There's too much action. No time to mourn the man who she gave up her powers to help. It's all right, you're done. Well, next.
Are they an item at this point? You said
Yes.
They are an item. Okay, because that brings up some more conflict later on that I don't understand. But we'll get there.
Yeah, but we get the reveal, and I said he is a she.
Yeah,
yes,
and
they assumed it was a man, but it's a woman.
And even getting to that, there was the cyber sweetie that was actually one of Cyber's ladies that had sent Diana off the pier in the car, and she had to rescue herself from that. And they're thinking she's. I mean, so much happens in each issue as I said, it's hard to keep up.
It was hard to trim it down and basically get what was happening in here. There's so much stuff happens, but there's 6 total issues. So like, this is going to take 2 hours if it covers everything.
Yeah, and another standout page I thought was page 21, where it's all the fighting in the shadows.
Absolutely.
Like that was done expertly. And yeah, Steve Trevor does not come back for the rest of this run. He's just dead for the whole duration of this era of Wonder Woman.
Well, it makes sense if Denny O'Neil was trying to reestablish the character, maybe not so much, make her become more of a feminist icon. You got to kill off the love interest and let her reestablish herself as her own hero, which is absolutely happening in this comic book because she is kung fu fighting all throughout Wonder Woman. We get up to issue 181, The Wrath of Dr. Cyber, Denny O'Neil, Mike Sekowsky once again. And I Ching hypnotizes this person that they've captured, and he learns that he's being held in an underwater fortress. These are the type of things I really love just about this era of movies and comic books. And then it turns out Diana knows a guy who has some arms that's a reformed criminal. His name's Raphael, and she starts arming herself up there, Joe, with maybe some necklaces and stuff that maybe could be bombs.
Yes, and we get to see some fun with that later. Very James Bond, very...
Not very Wonder Woman. That's the thing.
Yeah.
She's using bombs. There's gunfights here. It's just a totally different take on the character.
Yeah, well, when you don't have powers and you got to save the world, you got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure where the old Wonder Woman would have come into contact with a guy like Raphael, but it's a new Wonder Woman, a new Diana for new times.
Yeah, so then we get Cyber is recruiting Trench to her side. She wants to turn Tim Trench, but before he can answer, Diana and I Ching storm the underwater fortress, and they start fighting with Tim against Cyber and her thugs. He joins up with them, and then Cyber and her forces escape again, Eric Breen, and Diana barely survives the explosion as they destroy this underwater fortress. Very exciting stuff right here.
Yeah, I think we're at the point now where, they're back home after having fought that she wasn't able to recruit him, so he's still with him at the time, and they're trying to plot their next move, and that's when they're back in the dress shop, and someone mentioned
Bjorland.
Yeah, Bjorland, and he goes, the lights go on. He goes, that's where we need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they start heading to Bjorland. Once again, Joe, this is like 3 fights in one issue. They fight Cyber and her forces again. But this time, Cyber offers Tim Trench some priceless gems to work for it. And then he's turned by greed, and he opens fire, and that is the end on a very exciting cliffhanger, Joe Corallo. We got a heel turn, baby.
We sure did. And again, it's just masterfully crafted. You see those panels at the top of page 23 there with the gems falling at first, then the middle with Dr. Cyber, holding, supposed to be holding so many gems and jewels that they're all falling through her hands. And then it's that third panel where you see it from the perspective of Trench is looking forward, and he just sees the jewels falling and just like the shadow over his face, and it's like and just like focusing on his eyes. It's just brilliant stuff.
Should have had dollar signs in his eyes. That's all I could see. My goodness. That stupid jerk. We get into Wonder Woman 182 off of that cliffhanger. A Time to Love, A Time to Die. That's absolutely a James Bond title if I've ever heard one. And it turns out Tim Trench was firing a warning shot over Diana and I Ching. He says it's nothing personal, but next time he's going to do it for real. And it turns out he's not a good guy to turn because he takes the jewel box, but he also does not work with Cyber. He ends up taking her helicopter with him.
Yeah.
And kind of said, screws all you guys. I'm taking the money and running. Breed, what the hell?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first started reading comics, in Detective Comics in 1976, the backup feature for a time was Tim Trench. So, at some point he, reversed his heel turn, but for the context of this story, we don't know that. and it looks like he's just every man for himself, and he's every man. Yeah. So he's got the jewel. It takes it. Hell, I'm surprised he didn't take off with one of the cyber sweeties that he'd converted. He got everything else. So,
he screwed everybody over. He screwed the good guys over. He screwed the bad guys over, but he's got some money in his pocket. And at this point, Cyber tries to turn Diana and I Ching. It does not work, Joe. And I love this. Might be my favorite part of the entire comic. She looses like trained falcons on him.
Yes.
Like, who does that? That's better than throwing a shoe. I was like, what? And as they're fighting off these birds, the Cyber and her forces actually escape. I Ching is injured in the bird fight, but they're saved by a wealthy guy named Reginald Hyde White. He just appears out of nowhere, and he decides to take him back to his home in London. And this is my biggest problem with this whole issue, Joe. She just immediately falls in love with him. What the hell happened with Steve Trevor?
Yeah, well, what they were trying to get across was this idea that Wonder Woman...
He's very charming?
Well, he's charming, but the idea that Wonder Woman has never actually been a mortal person before, and that she's grappling with all these new feelings because
emotions.
Because Amazons are more tempered, and they can fall in love, but it's a more tempered, easygoing thing. But this like rush of emotions she's getting as a person.
She's never been smitten before, like a teenager.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to get across here.
I didn't get that part. I was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But the Falcon scene is badass. Everybody should loose Falcons on people when it's time to escape.
You just get, a few panel images here of her punching and chopping Falcons. It's amazing.
This is why you read comic books, Eric Breen.
Yeah, I like real quick, the next, before they go back to Mom, they stop off at a dress shop to get some clothes. And there's a scene where the sales girl is shortening Wonder Woman's skirt. And she goes, I hadn't realized mini skirts are getting so very, very mini. Well, doesn't she own a boutique dress shop at this time?
Yeah.
So that's but I like that because like I said, good Lord, it's like 3 pages and she's like wearing 6 different outfits in just the 2 pages, and gotta find the right. It's got to be form and functional and okay to go meet Mom.
Absolutely. Then we get I Ching decides to go visit an old friend in London who was then killed by one of Cyber's agents. Ching learns that Cyber's next strike is going to be during a treasure hunt hosted by Lady Rothwell, and it gets a little convoluted here for me, Breen. But soon they learn that Rothwell is actually a cyber agent herself, and the hunt itself is a ruse to stage a jewel robbery of the rich guests.
Yeah, I said you can't really trust anybody in this story. If we've learned anything in these 4 issues, that sleep with one eye open, all that. That's intrigue on top of intrigue.
Yep.
Absolutely. We got another heel turn coming because we got Diana and her friends intercede. They stop Cyber and her agents from this big robbery. And then damn it, Joe, Reginald, who she's just fallen in love with, pulls a gun. He's a cyber agent too, and he was falling for her, but he has a gun pointed on her. She starts crying, and this is my second favorite part. As she's crying, she beats the absolute brakes off of Reginald. She might have beat him to death. She probably did. And afterwards, she tells I Ching she's never returning, and Hippolyta tells the Amazon it's time to bring Diana back.
Yeah.
He had that beating coming, Joe.
He sure did. And boy, did he sure took it. It was...
She needed a costume change during the beating, but otherwise, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Cyber has trouble getting her agents to fully commit because, I said she thought she had Trench turned, but he just took the money and ran. Reggie pulled the gun on her too and said, basically said, I had to do this, but I'm not doing this for you either. So,
yeah, she's apparently not very good at turning people, but This is exciting stuff. We get another big cliffhanger, but then you guys skip me some more issues. Is there a reason that we skipped at this point, Joe? Is there some type of side story happening on with Diana going back to visit the Amazons?
Yeah, we get it's a lot of like more one-shot issues. Dr. Cyber doesn't come back till 187, but we get there's a good they're all good issues. We get Wonder Woman having to deal with Ares and his army without powers. And things like that. Like there's really a few cool things. Morgana the Witch is a cool one. It's 186, the issue right before we get here. But it's a lot of like adjusting, building up her new supporting cast and things like that. And then we get back to the threat of Dr. Cyber.
When does Denny come off the run as the writer and Mike take over as the writer?
I think 182 it was.
Okay, so right after that he takes over.
Yeah, so he was taking over. That last Dr. Cyber issue we just read, Denny was off, and it was Mike. Yeah,
my bad. I must have missed that. That brings us into Wonder Woman 187, Earthquaker. This is Mike Sekowsky writing and illustrating it. I Ching receives a call from an old friend in Hong Kong for help. He and Diana charter a flight with another friend, Patrick McGuire, who's transporting Lu Shan to Hong Kong. During the flight, I love stuff like this, the Tiger Tong clan emerged from crates to take over the plane. Diana and the crew hold them off, and then she accidentally throws them out of the plane. And it turns out Lu Shan says they were trying to take her employer's treasure, and I Ching discovers there's a half-shattered gem on a necklace or on a ring, and he fits it together with his necklace, and it's his long-lost daughter. My goodness, Breen, that's how you open up a comic book.
I thought we were watching Search for Tomorrow. That's a hell of a scene. Like I said, a lot of room to hide a lot of assassins on that plane. Another great fight. And then, like I said, the reveal that Lu Shan, of all people in all places, would be I Ching's long lost daughter.
Yeah. Man, if you want to throw ninjas on a plane randomly, I'm on board. It doesn't matter the setting. You know what I mean? That's absolutely my wheelhouse. So that was a lot of fun. Then we get Diana, I Ching, Lu Shan, and Patrick are once again attacked by the Tiger Tong in Hong Kong, and Lu Shan takes them to deliver the treasure to her employer. Heel turn Joe Corallo. It's Dr. Cyber, and the crate contains an earthquake device to destroy Hong Kong that she's eventually going to use to blackmail everyone with the threat of more earthquakes.
Yep.
It's like a soap opera here.
Yeah, but this is, there's just globe trotting, all that kind of stuff. Again, like a James Bond movie and all that. It's, we gotta go here and then gotta go there, and we're getting attacked by ninjas everywhere. It's
this person I'm falling for turns out to the bad guy, and this guy's daughter turns out she's also evil. That's good stuff.
And it's a pretty quick read too. These issues in this era, it's not overly verbose. There's not a lot of purple prose and all that throughout it. It's pretty good at letting like the action dictate and letting the story sort of flow. And I feel like for a lot of more recent readers, the past couple of decades who might not have like gone back to like eras like this, I feel like there's this assumption that that's so dialogue-y and wordy and all that. And it's like, that's not a universal thing. So also keep that in mind, people who are listening and haven't checked this out and might be interested. It's really not this like giant, clanky, verbose mess that I think some people assume books like this are.
The dialogue itself is kind of funny in some parts. It reads a little different. It's kind of hokey, but absolutely, it's a very enjoyable read. And as you can tell by all the stuff happening, it is fast-paced as hell. Because we get, once they get in there, Lu Shan asks for permission to shoot I Ching. My goodness, Eric Breen. Diana asks, how could you shoot your own father? He killed her mother 20 years ago, his wife. Is he a piece of crap? Dr. Cyber kills the Tiger Tong members. One survives long enough to blast a brazier, sending red hot coals into Cyber's face. and then Lu Shan escorts Cyber to safety, and I Ching recovers in the hospital as Cyber orders Lu Shan to activate the Earthquakers and sends a death squad for Diane. What the hell's going on here, Breen?
Yeah, can we just mention a moment for Lum Fong, who probably had the shortest career as a master villain, all of 5 panels before he's dispatched. It's almost absurd at this point how much is going on. But I think with Lu Shan's heel turn, and we don't know if her version of events are correct.
Yeah.
But I think what this is trying to drive home is Diana, being a newly minted mortal, is having to deal with, death and betrayal on top of betrayal. It's like by the end of this, it's like she's probably thinking, why the hell would anybody want to be immortal? So I think that's where at this point she's probably at her wit's end, and we do get Cyber's orders to carry it out and make sure that Diana Prince is killed. And she says,
by the time this storyline's over, she should have the stone cold mentality and she should be stunning anyone that she sees. I have no friends. Everybody's evil. That takes us into the final issue of the story, Wonder Woman 188, Cyber's Revenge. Mike Sekowsky, once again, writing and illustrating. We have Diana talking to Hong Kong Inspector David McLean. Could they not have picked a more Hong Kong name than David McLean? He sounds like he's in Dublin. But it turns out they've got the earthquake stuff is going on. It kind of knocks them off. The tremors stop. Diana and David head outside to investigate. They are jumped once again by Lu Shan and Cyber agents, but they escape. And Dr. Cyber broadcasts a message demanding to be named the ruler of Earth, or it will be destroyed by more earthquakes, Joe. Diabolical.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. And you see her, she's all wrapped in the bandages around her face there. Yeah, it is just page after page of total fires, destruction, just like, the first 5 pages, it's like, let's do a lot of destruction and then have a bunch of cyber sweeties shooting them up, and then like the buildings falling down and Dr. Cyber's demanding to take over the world. 5 issues. Not 5 issues, 5 pages.
Yeah.
Pages.
Yes, this is about 4 years worth of content in a modern run. You're getting it, pretty well condensed into 6 issues here. And we've got Cyber's kill squad finally finds Diana, but she defeats them pretty easily. She's getting pretty used to it. She captures one of them and forces them to disclose the location of the Earthquakers. They shut down all the Earthquakers, Brain, except for one. And at the last location, Diana and Patrick are captured by Cyber's forces and brought to her.
Yeah, and I like the where she's getting, despite everything that's happened, she's getting pretty sharp because she makes the one cyber assassin shut off the machine herself because she suspects all of her people are so loyal to her, although most of them have turned on her. But she's smart enough to make that girl do that because otherwise they'd have blown themselves up. Yeah. So yeah, now we're here and at the end part, and yes, Cyber's ordering more earthquakes, and they are led into a trap, and they are
another trap
in bondage, and then she gives the face reveal, or what's the new face reveal.
But is there a face reveal? I don't remember seeing it.
Well, no, we don't see it. Diana does when she's like holding her.
She's like,
and of course, being at this point, Cyber's batshit, and she's blaming Diana, and Diana sets her straight, but of course. That was just a ruse to get her close enough where she could kick her head off and get out of her bond.
She kicks her and knocks her the hell out immediately. And then she still has some strength here, Joe, because she's actually able to pull the chains out of the wall. She frees up Patrick. At this point, Cyber is recovered, and she goes to attack her with a sword. But Diana once again kicks her in the head into a high voltage wires, electrocutes her to death, and starts exploding the final Earthquaker. And in the end, Diana, Patrick, and Lu Shan actually escapes on her own, and she vows revenge for her mistress, and Lu Shan escapes to China, and they find out I Ching has left the hospital and is in hot pursuit of Lucian and another adventure that's sure to come down the pike, Joe. Very exciting stuff. And yeah, I wish we would have got to see her face. Why was she so scared?
Yeah, well, this is comics, so this is not the last we see of Dr. Cyber, but but yeah, it's really good stuff. It's like I feel like you have to not have read this to hate it as much as some people do. Like, it's so good.
I don't understand how you can hate this. This is like it's so much fun. It's just so much crazy stuff. You've got falcons attacking people. We've got underwater fortresses. We've got ninjas on a plane attacking people. We've got Diana beating the brakes off of a guy while she's crying because she loves him so much. Come on.
Yeah.
And how many costume changes did we get? About 45, 50?
It's around there. Yeah.
Look, people have heard so many things about this story, about this run, very little of which is actually true. I mean, if you want to apply today's sensibilities to the story, yeah, you can nitpick here and there, but
she's like a walking, talking Charlie's Angels, but she's only one of them. But
she's also, completely capable and proves that she can get the job done without her Amazon powers. And it is she that carries the day. And like I said, I agree with Joe. Those that criticize this run haven't read it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It's like a roller coaster of emotions to get through this story. I was like, I'm up, I'm down, heel turn. We got all these things. And it was like, whoo. It almost wore me out just emotionally getting through it, but it was worth it in the end. You're going to see so many crazy things. I never would have expected this, honestly, from a Wonder Woman comic.
Yeah.
You don't ever think of it being this much fun and exciting.
Yeah.
Just like really ninjas and stuff. So, I don't know. I definitely enjoyed this one quite a bit. How long does this current iteration of Wonder Woman last?
Oh, it ends up being like about 4 years-ish, because it's every other month that these issues come out, because it goes from like that 178, 179, that era, that's where it's happening, and then it ends at 204, which was the first appearance of Nubia. Like the first half of that issue is like wrapping up that element, and then her getting back to having her powers as an Amazon, and then she gets challenged by someone who is also claiming to be Wonder Woman, who turns out to be Nubia. So
nice.
And then there's the year that she spends with the 12 trials to try to earn her place back into the Justice League.
Yeah.
So if people want to read this, it sounds like not everyone is as fond of the legacy of this version of the character. Where can they get? I know some of the stuff was reprinted later. Yeah. But are these collected in trades? Is there a good place to get their hands on a story like this, Joe?
Yeah, there's trades. I believe Breen you have the trades, I think, of this.
Yeah, I've got the old ones. These are out of print, but I think they were these have been in print twice.
Yeah.
And you have an omnibus, right? Of this?
Yeah, I have the omnibus of this, which is gorgeous.
Fierce cover.
Like I'm envious of that.
But yeah, and it's got, everything in it, and it's just It's one of the nicer DC omnibuses in general, just in terms of just the quality of the physical book itself. But yeah, it's the omnibus is still in print. If you haven't read it, obviously, Comixology. I'm sure it's in the DC Unlimited, whatever that is for.
I think it's DC Infinite.
DC Infinite, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe it's Infinity. It's one or the other.
Something like that. Either way, maybe don't call it that, and then also have Infinite Frontier running at the same time.
It makes it confusing. So this was a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed it. We're going back to. Are we going to Marvel next week?
Yeah, we keep switching back and forth. Yeah, but maybe,
well, we got to hit an indie book once in a while. We already did Hellboy once though.
Yeah, no, we'll do an indie book at some point, but yeah, I was thinking, we probably want to jump to a different era, because we've been around the late 60s, early 70s for a bit, so it might be time to, do like Avengers Under Siege 273 to 277. Maybe it's time to do that. Get us in a different era. I don't know. Breen, how's that sound to you?
I'm in.
Cool. Let's do it.
Sounds like you're going to be getting Avengers next week. I do want to say thank you very much to Eric Breen and Joe Corallo for joining me today. You guys have any final words on this wonderful Wonder Woman as a Charlie's Angel style secret agent James Bond thing? That's quite fun.
Check that out.
Yes.
That encapsulates Wonder Woman of the era.
Yeah.
Where else you can see Diana Prince with a machine gun?
Yeah. If don't believe any of the negative things you've heard of this run, read it yourself and make your own decisions.
And definitely go read this story, because I said we weren't able to do it complete justice because, like as Wes said, we would have been here for 2 hours.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's so much stuff happening. I've got to condense this down, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and I cannot wait for next week. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your time.
Awesome.